Now, of course, the MacBook is hands down an incredible device, but I think Apple's iPad Pro is starting to really close that gap a little bit. Now, deciding between the two really isn't so straightforward, so we'll be running through all the things that I think these devices do well, as well as covering the things that I think they don't do so well. Now, luckily, the majority of the iPad's hardware is actually one of its strongest points, and that's the screen. The 12.9-inch model comes with Apple's XDR display, which is a great display, which is really good for watching movies on, or any creative work that involves visuals or colors, etc. Now, because of that great display, the iPad is my personal go-to device for watching anime or YouTube videos. And even if it is a slightly smaller screen than the MacBook, I think because of the shape and the size of the iPad, it's a lot more convenient and comfortable to use regardless of the environment you're in. The size of the screen is also decent enough for two people to share, which is really good if you're on a long flight or a train journey and you want to watch a movie with your travel buddy. Moving on to the iPad's ability to tackle creative work, and this is something it does really well. The touchscreen is great for certain types of work, making it a lot more enjoyable, a lot more accurate, but I won't talk about this point too much because you probably already know if a touchscreen would benefit the type of work that you do. All I will say is that working without the limitations of a trackpad or a mouse is really cool, and the iPad's touchscreen in particular handles this really well. Now, the mobility that the iPad offers has been a massive advantage of this device, even if it is the larger 12.9-inch model. Now, some of you are probably thinking that this device is too large to carry around with you everywhere, and for some of you it probably will be. But if you're comparing it to a MacBook Pro, it's still a lot easier to carry around while still managing to have a decent enough size screen to get some serious work done. Personally, I think this is a good balance between having a good size screen in a compact body. This moving around point is useful for you students thinking of using an iPad for school or college, but I'd say for you guys, the real benefit of an iPad is when it comes to reading documents. Now, we've all been there. You've got an essay or work assignment due, and you're procrastinating because you've got this 100-page document that you need to read. For some reason, reading text on an iPad is a lot more enjoyable, maybe even a bit more fun. The shape of it feels a lot more like a page of a book, and the size does mean it's more convenient to read in a variety of different places. The best thing about reading on an iPad though is the ability to scribble all over the page. For anyone trying to retain information from the text that they've read, being able to highlight stuff or write notes in the corner without having to switch to a second tab can be really, really useful. Now, of course, you can read and write on a laptop, but I just think an iPad has a slight edge here. By the way, 99.5% of you watching this video haven't subscribed to my channel. It helps out a lot, so please do drop a sub if you can. Now, we've spoken a lot about what the iPad Pro does well, but there are some serious things holding it back. And the first one here is going to be battery life for a lot of people. Now, this one kind of depends on the type of work you're doing, but this is where I start talking about the iPad Pro in particular being unnecessary for most people. Okay, so for professionals planning on using the iPad Pro, and specifically its processing power for some sort of demanding workflow, the battery is just not going to last. I can tell you that I get about 2, maybe 3 hours max of battery life when I'm video editing, meaning it's not ideal for situations where you don't have access to a charger. Having said that, if you do want to use the iPad to just, watch videos, write notes, read documents, the battery will last a long time. But the thing is, if you are using an iPad Pro for tasks like writing or just tasks that just generally use less processing power, you can save yourself a lot of money by opting for an iPad Air or a base model iPad which has more than enough processing power for the tasks that you do. Another really big issue I have with the iPad is that to utilize it as a device that can be used for everything, you'll need to start buying up all these really expensive extras. Like, let's say you're a creative and you want to start using it for creative work. Apple Pencil, $140. Or if you're a student and you want to write essays on this, or a video editor and you want to use shortcuts, Magic Keyboard, $350. The price starts racking up really, really quickly. And that's before you've even bought any of the protective accessories like a case or Apple Care, etc. This one's a really big problem for me because I do think the iPad is an incredibly versatile tool that can be used for a variety of different work. But the fact that you basically need to spend all this extra money just kind of sucks. So unlike the iPad, the MacBook Pro comes as a fully functioning, fully capable device, and that's probably a good place to start with Apple's flagship laptop. It's just an all-round workhorse that does everything very, very well. It's easier to browse the web, better at writing documents, and it comes with a better battery life. If we're talking pure performance and ability to handle most tasks, the MacBook Pro beats the iPad hands down. There's also something about a laptop that makes it feel like an essential piece of tech, whereas a tablet or an iPad feels a bit more like an optional luxury. I think this is partly because of a laptop's ability to handle most tasks better than an iPad can. So in addition to your everyday working tasks, the MacBook Pro is also surprisingly good when it comes to watching movies or playing certain games that benefit from an immersive experience. Even though the display is a comparable size to the iPad, I mean it's slightly larger, which is nice, but the real advantage is the audio. The MacBook Pro just sounds so much better than the iPad. This MacBook Pro in particular has some of the best audio I've heard on any laptop and sounds really sick when you're watching movies and can even hold its own if you're just listening to some music. I can't stress this point enough. The MacBook Pro's audio is really, really good. And I know some of you think you don't really care about the audio, but trust me, it just makes a massive difference. So I feel like it's not that useful talking about what the MacBook Pro is good at because it's basically a beast at everything. So let's switch over and start talking about the things it's not so good at. But just so you know, the list isn't that long. The obvious one here is mobility, and if you're thinking of getting the 16-inch MacBook Pro, do not underestimate how bulky this thing is. It's a lot heavier than an iPad, meaning it's just long to carry around all day, and because of its awkwardly large size, it doesn't even fit into most backpacks. Whenever I am using my MacBook out and about, I have to use my big North Face bag, which isn't always ideal. At the end of the day, if you're buying a laptop, it's for its portability. And I wish I thought about this more, but if you are buying a laptop, make sure it fits into the bags you use on a daily basis. 95% of the time, a MacBook is going to be the better idea. But, and I'm going to keep saying this every single time someone asks me about buying a new piece of tech, seriously consider base models and older devices. In this video, we looked at two very expensive devices, and I can't stress this enough. For most people, you will not need the processing power of a brand new Pro model device. Save yourself some money, really think about what you actually need your device for, and only buy what's necessary. Unless, of course, you just like spending money. I think that's it for this one. Sub if you haven't. Peace.